This episode of Never Have I Ever contains audio produced by the Graduate Diploma on Radio students from the Australian Film, Television and Radio School and was given permission from both the staff and students to reuse the audio and broadcast recordings for this podcast.
Yes, well, it's funny you should say that you don't have to do it because today, little surprise for you, we're going to send you down to the roller coaster area and you're going to go on a ride on one.
Wait, I'm sorry, you say what now? Hello, my name is Ariel, and you're listening to Never Have I Ever, a podcast about experiences I never had. Welcome to episode 4 of this podcast series. So if you're just joining us, feel free to subscribe as new episodes come out each week. This week, I'm here to tell you that never have I ever enjoyed thrill rides. My history with thrill rides has been a constant love-hate relationship. On one hand, I enjoy some of them, but they're usually meant for kids or people aged between 12 to 16 years. So basically, the stuff you see in Disneyland. Get me on one of those rides, I'll be cool with it. But then there's the... Yep, you know the ones I'm talking about. The really tall and really fast ones. We're talking building height. The one with the loop-de-loops. The one that makes you go upside down. The works. Get me on one of those and I will not hesitate to punch you in the face right before you reach the back of the line. I think it's connected with my fear of heights, as sometimes I worry that I might fall off, but I also think it's because that these rides look really intimidating for little old me, hence why I might be afraid to give them a try. So last week was the Sydney Royal Easter Show held at Sydney Olympic Park. I was there because my class was doing a collaborative broadcast assignment from the Australian Film, Television and Radio School, or AFTRS for short, where we are tasked to produce a radio show about the event. This also includes podcasts. One of the goals that I made when I was there was to finally conquer that fear and actually attempt to ride on one of these really fast thrill rides for the first time. And all those experiences are documented throughout our collaborative broadcast assignment.
This is Show Radio, live from the Sydney Royal Easter Show since 1995.
You're listening to Ariel in the Afternoons here on Show Radio live at the Sydney Royal Easter Show. So, I hate riding roller coasters, and I know I'm not alone. I'm sure a lot of you haven't ridden one yet, and today will be your first time doing so. But whenever you look at them or hear sounds whenever you're nearby, you start to feel scared, nervous, and afraid. Maybe that's the excitement that you had built up just turned into fear and nervousness. Joining me today is Australia's roller coaster expert, yes, that is a thing, Dr. Malcolm Burt from Queensland University of Technology, hopefully to give us some advice on how to conquer these rides. But before we start, I would like to ask, are you afraid of roller coasters?
I'm afraid of heights. So I'm not necessarily afraid of roller coasters, but roller coasters plus heights they kind of freak me out. It's funny because people think, because, you study this stuff and, I've been lucky enough to go around the world and experience a lot of these rides, that I would be totally cool about them. But they're meant to scare you. The big, tall, scary roller coasters, they prey on primal fears of losing control, of, dropping, of suddenly, launching at high speed. So these are all smart things to be afraid of. And I think people are kidding themselves when they say that they're not scared of any rides. I think they're just trying to be tough. But yeah, sometimes people are surprised when they go, oh, you actually still get scared of these rides. I'm like, yeah, I do. But I still go on them because I don't want them to get away from me.
So what makes roller coasters intimidating that makes aspiring riders afraid to get on them?
The whole thrill ride experience, and I should stress that I'm interested in the really extreme ones, like the really fast roller coasters and the really extreme thrill rides. They're designed to scare you, but they're not just designed to scare you at the park. It's this whole experience that you start thinking about before you even go to a park. When you think of the way these rides are marketed, they're always marketed as this big challenge, this big test. Can you survive these rides, right? I mean, the whole fact that they're incredibly safe is, it's a whole separate thing, but they're marketed as being incredibly dangerous. So you see things, advertised on the internet or on TV as, are you tough enough to brave this ride? And you're like, well, let's give it a go. So as you're driving to the park, you can see these big rides from a long way away. Like, they're designed to have an intimidating skyline, and they give us a skyline that we recognise as a theme park. So you're sort of getting more and more nervous. And then, when you get to the park and you're waiting in the queue for these rides, oftentimes, they'll swoop through the queue, or they'll go over the top of the heads of people in the queue. Another way to scare you, to sort of amp up the experience. So by the time you're on the ride, you're going crazy and you really think that you're risking your life by actually going on these rides when, in actual fact, you're not. But it feels like it, and the body certainly reacts as if your life is in danger. So they're doing their job. And then, of course, when you come back to the station safe at the end, you're just so relieved that you've survived, in inverted commas, that you rush off to the gift shop, and then, you buy shirts and pictures and things with your face on it. So they're actually incredibly safe, but they're marketed as being incredibly dangerous. And it's not just at the park. It's actually the entire experience of seeing them, having them marketed to you. And then, at the end, when you finally have those pictures to show to your friends, you're not going to say it wasn't scary. You're going to say it was super scary. It was incredibly scary. And look how tough I am that I actually survived. So you're kind of contributing to their, perceived scariness.
So do you know what the fastest, most thrilling roller coaster is in Australia?
Well, thrilling is kind of subjective. So, some people will say a ride is really scary and thrilling, other ones won't. But the fastest in Australia is actually, I should probably do more research, but I'm pretty sure that the fastest is DC Rivals, which is at Movie World, and that's probably our biggest roller coaster as well. So I reckon that's probably the number one fastest and most thrilling roller coaster in Australia, DC Rivals.
That's the one with Superman, is it?
Well, no, Superman is a launch coaster at the same park. This one is kind of the DC characters fighting each other, and there's a big Joker face at the top of the hill. It's a big pink track, basically.
Ah, now I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw the Superman one. I was looking, I was there a long time ago, and I saw it, and my family's like, you should ride that. You should ride it. I'm like, no, anything but that.
Well, that one, so Superman is the red launched one. It launches much faster than DC Rivals, because DC Rivals has a traditional lift hill, like a chain, clink, 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 sort of a hill. But DC Rivals is ultimately faster overall than Superman. So if you're scared to get on Superman, you'll be very scared to get on DC Rivals.
So the Easter show is back on. There wasn't an Easter show last year, so this year might be the year of plenty of people's first time going to the Easter show, going to all these rides. Is there any advice that you can give to these aspiring riders, and to me, if they're going to ride in these roller coasters and they're feeling scared or afraid that they might get hurt, or, they just feel afraid to get on? What is your advice for those people?
To be honest, I've always said, if people are really scared of getting on a ride, don't go on it, because it's meant to be fun, right? And I always say to people, push yourself a bit. So if it's a little taller or, more loops or something than you're comfortable with, but you're willing to give it a go, just push yourself a little tiny bit. But I've seen people, kids in particular, dragged onto rides, and they were terrified. They're absolutely terrified. And I just don't think that's right. So if you want a thrill and you're willing to just push your limits a little tiny bit, I say go for it, because these things are generally extraordinarily safe. If you really don't want to go on it, then do not be pressured by people. Just stand up to the side and hold their bags, because people always want other people to hold their bags. So you're actually, you're playing an important role if that's what you do.
And is there a ride in the Sydney Royal Easter Show that would be worth recommending?
Well, to be honest, I don't actually know the specifics of the rides at the Royal Show, but in general, a lot of travelling shows they'll have like drop towers. They'll have towers where you spin around on chairs on chains. They're really good. And they also have usually a sort of a suspended pendulum spinning around kind of ride. They're always really good too. So they're the ones that we usually get on. A little drop tower, a little chair, spinning around. I don't know what the actual term is for the ride, but you're on chains, you're on a tower and you're spinning around on chairs. All the other ones, which are sort of spinning pendulums, they're always a lot of fun. So, yeah, that'd be my top three. Sometimes they actually have little baby roller coasters in travelling shows, as well as spinning roller coasters. They're a lot of fun too. So there's five you can try.
That was Dr. Malcolm Burt from Queensland University of Technology, giving us his advice on how to conquer roller coasters. After my interview with Malcolm Burt, I now have a better understanding of my fears. But if there's something I took away from all of that, that is to have fun and push myself on my own terms. During the early stages of pre-planning, one of the announcers that I was field reporting for told me that they planned to get me into one of those rides, with my consent of course. Holy Toledo, why did I say yes to this? But here's the thing, right? The last time I attended the Sydney Royal Easter Show was literally 10 years ago, back in 2011. And the last time I rode a roller coaster was back in 2018, when the family went to Disneyland. Many years since I last rode a thrill ride. So I need to know what to expect, especially this year.
Welcome to Show Me the Show, coming live from the Sydney Royal Easter Show. We've been so busy working out, producing all this content that we haven't actually had a chance to go on any of the rides here.
And I'm mad about it, and I want to do something about that.
Absolutely. So being the thrill junkie of the two of us, I have picked out two rides that I'm going to go on, the Power Surge and the Triple XL. What about you, Charlie?
I'm going on the Dodgem Cars and the Adventure Island Family Log Flume.
Sound like great choices.
Yes.
I think there's nothing left to do but try out the rides.
Show Me the Show is one of the podcasts that we as a class had to produce. It's an audio tour of the Sydney Royal Easter Show for those who are unable to attend due to various circumstances. One of my friends, Charles, alongside with his co-host Charlie, produced an episode on, well, thrill rides. I spoke to Charles a few days after the podcast was uploaded and asked about his experience on thrill rides and what he learned during and after production.
I was a big fan of rides, roller coasters, thrill-seeking adventure, that sort of stuff. Don't know if I'm that anymore, but Patty and I thought about, when we had to come up with a podcast idea, we thought that about something really fun, something that like a lot of people could listen to, especially the 13 plus demographic. We think a lot of 13-year-olds would probably be listening in, checking in for the rides. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
So, for those who didn't listen or those who are new, what did you exactly do?
So the other Charlie from the part-time course here, and what we did is that we both went on two different sort of rides each. The other Charlie went on the more kind of family-oriented rides, went on the Dodgem Cars and the log flume rather. And yeah, he enjoyed it as well. I went on the more thrill-seeking rides, so I went on the Power Surge and I also went on the Triple XL, and I felt sick to my stomach afterwards while recording it. But I would argue that that's kind of part of the fun. It was really fun to record, and we kind of made it really comedic. We had hard cuts of me screaming my head off on the rides.
Whoa! Oh my God! Whoa! Oh, no way! Ah! Whoa!
Really played up the fact that I was feeling really ill and that Charlie had a really great time on all the really friendly rides, so yeah.
What did you learn when producing that episode?
That's actually a really good question, Ariel. I learned some really interesting ways of recording stuff. So obviously I couldn't take my Zoom recorders on the roller coasters, otherwise it would have fallen out of my hand. So I had to come up with a creative way to be able to record stuff while I was on the ride. So what I did, I have a footy jacket that has zippers on the side. So what I did before I got on the ride, I started recording on my phone, put it in my pocket, zipped it up to make sure it wouldn't fall out. And while I was on the rides, just screamed my head off. And I was a bit worried about how the audio would sound, but it sounded really clear actually, despite all the hurling and twirling and me screaming my head off. It actually came out really good.
And what did you learn about roller coasters after that experience?
I learned that I'm getting really old. So I learned that I'm no longer the 10-year-old, 11-year-old guy that, would go to Luna Park, many times a year and go on the Wild Mouse, go on all the roller coasters, love being upside down. I used to, it used to be my favorite thing in the world. Now, after going on those two rides, I really felt it. I really felt awful. And I think that might just be a sign of the times that it's time to maybe get up the ghost and, maybe rides aren't for me anymore.
That's kind of sad, isn't it?
Oh, look, it is. But at the end of the day, it's kind of me sort of growing up a little bit and realizing that what I enjoyed once, I don't enjoy now. It's a bit like, lollies for me. I was always a big sweet tooth guy. Now I'm all more into, my cheeseburger pies and my pork knuckles rather than like all the sweets that are here at the show.
But do you think like younger kids will enjoy these rides still?
Absolutely. 13-year-old Charles would have absolutely lost his mind on those rides. They were a lot of fun whilst I was going on them. It was just once I got off them, I was feeling really ill. But while I was doing it, it was a lot of fun. It releases those endorphins, it gives you that pump of adrenaline that you're wanting from those rides. So absolutely, I would absolutely recommend them.
This is Show Radio, live from the Sydney Royal Easter Show since 1995.
I do have joining me now Ariel. So Ariel is going to be our roving reporter this afternoon. Ariel, how are you?
I'm really great, thank you.
That's good. So Ariel's been doing a lot of research about roller coasters and how to face those fears. And she even spoke with a roller coaster expert. So just quickly, Ariel, what is a roller coaster expert?
In short, a roller coaster expert is just someone who just researches on roller coasters as a field of study. And this guy, he's really good. Like, he knows his stuff. He also was interviewed in breakfast shows and kid educational shows. So it's just someone who researches roller coasters for a living.
Yeah, great. And you spoke to them about what makes roller coasters scary. So what do they say? What were the top tips on what makes it scary?
So the first thing they said about it is the reason why we see roller coasters as scary is because it's kind of marketed that way. They always say stuff like, oh yeah, are you brave enough to ride this ride or whatever? And it's like a challenge, and that's why they're perceived as scary. Especially like, look how tall it is. Not to mention the fear of height stuff. Like, we all have fears, and fear of heights is also plays a factor to this. So that's one of the reasons why we're afraid of roller coasters. But he did say to us that if you want to push your fears and try to ride this ride, just do it. It's just remember, you're just there to have fun and just enjoy it. But if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. Just holding someone's bag is good enough.
Yes, well, it's funny you should say that you don't have to do it, because today, a little surprise for you, we're going to send you down to the roller coaster area and you're going to go on a ride on one.
Wait, I'm sorry, you say what now?
So you're going to get down there. You can choose which ones. We're not going to send you on. As I look at, there was the slingshot one, the massive one that shoots right into the sky. You don't have to go on that one, because I wouldn't even go on that one. But we're going to get you down there. We're going to cross to you later this hour on the phone as you're down there getting ready. How do you feel? Did the roller coaster expert give you any tips on how to deal with your fear?
He just says, like, just have fun and enjoy it. But really, you're going to make me ride a roller coaster? You know what? Sure, fine. I'll try new things. YOLO. Let's do this.
Yeah, so do you have any in mind? As you said, you walked in, you looked at them all. Any in your mind that you think you're going to try? What's your first one going to be?
I think a good starter, which is like something that's like a good starting point, something safe yet something that's slightly thrilling.
The teacups, or a bit more than that?
Not the teacups.
Teacups are very scary. I wouldn't even go on them ones either.
If you have motion sickness, sure.
Yeah.
There is this thing that kind of looks like a tumblebug, a vertical tumblebug, and it's like, that looks really thrilling, yet it does look safe. You know what?
Well, they're all safe. They're all safe.
They're all safe, yeah, but it's like, in your head when you're afraid, it's like,
Yes, I agree.
Like safe, like, I know I'm going to be in good hands and like it's my first time.
Yeah.
I'll ride that vertical tumblebug.
Well, amazing. So this is very exciting. So make sure you're sticking around. It's probably going to be later this hour. Ariel's going to go off and away now, and you're going to go ride a roller coaster, have some fun, and we're going to be chatting with you.
Ready for the power. Let's rock that body. Over the top. 20 meters in the sky.
If you were listening earlier, we did have our roving reporter Ariel live with us in the studio. We set her the task. She hates roller coasters, so if someone tells me they hate roller coasters, you know what I say to them? You're going on a roller coaster. Ariel, how are you down there? Where are you? Set the scene for us.
Well, the ride is ending now, and I'm about to get on it. And holy Toledo, wow.
Yeah? So how are you feeling? Are you nervous? You scared? You excited? Or all rolled into one?
Think of it as an emotional milkshake.
Yeah, an emotional milkshake. Wow, that is very descriptive. Something that I want to drink. You would not want to drink a milkshake before you went in. How have you gone? Have you had a big lunch? How are you feeling?
I had a light breakfast, so I should be good.
Yeah, you should be good. So what is the ride? Can you explain it to us? What type of ride is it?
It's called the Power Strip, and it's basically like a vertical tumblebug.
Yeah, so it's like so it's vertical. Does it go quite high?
It's really high. It's next to the haunted hotel, and I'm about to get on it now, so I'm about to be strapped on and all that.
Amazing. Well, we wish you very good luck here. We're all rooting for you, and we cannot wait. So coming up after 3 o'clock, so in the next hour, we're going to be getting Ariel back on, and we want to know if you're on the socials. Let us know if you're scared of rides or if you've conquered your fear. Maybe is the Sydney Royal Easter Show the perfect time to conquer your fears? I think it is. So let us know what it is, and then maybe we can send you out on a little journey.
Although I was unable to record my experience riding the Power Surge, I still remember what it felt like being strapped on and having the time of my life. Yes, it was scary and terrifying, let alone being stuck upside down for 2 seconds wasn't my cup of tea. I still had fun and wouldn't mind giving the ride another go in the future. Like what Dr. Malcolm Bird said, the point of these rides is to have fun, and I'm glad that my classmates got me to ride one of them as their field reporter.
Feel that energy, feel that beat. We just swept you off your feet on that one. Power Surge, thank you for riding. Hey, and then the sequence as we come back down under your sequence and pull the safety bars in, pull them in and push them out. Pull them and push out, push them all the way to the top. Hey, easing on the Haunted Hotel side, on the left-hand side, looking for flying. Cheers for riding. That's the next ride.
So earlier this afternoon, we set Ariel, our roving reporter, the task to go on a roller coaster. She has a fear of roller coasters, but we sent her on one. Ariel is back in the studio. Ariel, how did you go?
It was really great. A bit dizzy, but
Yeah.
I will say best experience.
Yeah, so it was one of the massive ones. We can actually see it here from the studio. It goes pretty high up, spins backwards, forwards, and around. Is that right?
Yeah, it's like a vertical tumble bug, like I said earlier, and it's, you spin around in chairs. It's like you go upside down, you go sideways, and it's like you're flying, but you can't
But you're
control
not.
but you can't control your flying.
Yeah, so how did you, well, you spoke to the roller coaster expert earlier last week. Did you take some of those tips before you got on?
Yeah, it's, just have fun. You're in it to have fun, so just enjoy the ride. And I did enjoy it. It was really great. And yeah, I just remind myself you're here to have fun. Just try new things, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were saying before, just off air, that now you are a convert and you're going to go on lots and lots of rides today. Is that right?
Yeah, I plan to. On the last day of the Easter show, because I'll be producing at the breakfast. Once my job is done, I'm gonna run around and have fun like a normal person.
Right. So you heard it here first. Ariel is going to go on all the rides. So if you see Ariel at the show, make sure you grab her, bring her on the ride. She's 100% going to do it. Ariel, thank you so much for doing that. Really appreciate you jumping on the ride and facing your fears.
Firstly, I would like to thank Owen for challenging me to get on one of these trail rides as a field reporter. Working with you was really great, and if you want to hear more from him, you can find him on his podcast, Owen, Beck, and Lockie After Class, where they share their experiences as after students, go do different activities in Sydney, and interview after staff and alumni. I would also like to thank Charles as well for sharing me his experience riding these rides for Show Me the Show. If you want to hear more from him, feel free to listen to his podcast right in front of me, which is essentially a sports news podcast. Both podcasts can be streamed on Spotify and other podcasting platforms. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Malcolm Bird from the Queensland University of Technology for giving his advice and input about trail rides and how to conquer them. And lastly, I would like to thank the Australian Film, Television and Radio School for not only allowing me to reuse some of the audio we as a class produced, but also giving us the opportunity to broadcast and produce stories about the Sydney Royal Easter Show. My name is Ariel, and this has been another episode of Never Have I Ever. There are more topics and other missed out experiences I still have to cover. So until then, I hope you stick around for the next one. While waiting, feel free to listen to an earlier episode of Never Have I Ever, or my other podcast, Casual Nerds with Matt, over on YouTube, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.